now that Donald Trump has suggested nominating Matt Gaetz for the Attorney General of the United States, a lot of stuff involving Matt Gaetz has come back up into conversation. And I thought, as someone who knows him and ran against him for Congress the last cycle, I'd shed some light on some of this. The first thing people bringing up are Nestor. And I understand why. Matt Gaetz erroneously erupted during a hearing trying to defend his racism by saying he's not racist, he has a minority son. Now, this shocked everybody because Matt Gaetz has no biological children, and at the time he was single. So people started looking into it, and it turns out there was a young boy named Nestor who, at about the age of 12 or 13, started living with Matt Gaetz. Now, this has been widely perceived as a child that might have been subjected to sexual abuse or exploitation, but that's not my inclination about it after speaking to people who know him and family members. So Nestor's parents are alive and well in Florida. Matt Gaetz dated Nestor's older sister for a while, and after they ended their relationship, Nestor just kind of started hanging around Matt Gaetz's place. There was no formal adoption. He wasn't formally his father or anything like that. He was more like a big brother who was supposed to be watching his little brother, but was never really there. Not to say that what happened wasn't reckless or strange and that it was not documented, but Matt Gaetz has lived a lifetime of not doing anything the way that you're supposed to. So this is pretty on brand for him. And from all accounts that I've got is that Nestor, he grew up, went to college in Alabama, seems to be living his life separately from the whole Gaetz drama, doesn't want anything involving that. He doesn't want his adolescence or the choices he's made in his life or the ones that were made for him to become fodder for politicians. Seems like a good enough kid. He doesn't want to be a part of this so far, and that's his right, and we should respect that. More than anything, my first inclination after getting to know Matt Gaetz was that he was rape bait. That Nestor would be hanging out with other young girls, and people would feel more comfortable going to Gaetz's house if Nestor was around, and that's kind of how that procedure worked. Because we know that Matt Gaetz has had sexual relationships with people who are underage, not 12 or 13 that we've ever found out, but 15, 16, 17. Doesn't seem to think that that's a big deal. And most people think that that is what the majority of this mysterious House report that is pending is about. But that might be part of it. But the reason that we'll probably never see it, or if we do see it, it'll be heavily redacted, is because there are a lot of other politicians that are implicated by the activities that occurred as part of this Matt Gaetz story. It implicates not just Republican politicians from Florida and elsewhere, but a couple of Democratic politicians as well. So neither party really has a big incentive on getting this report released because it could be damning for both of them. And it goes beyond, possibly having sex with a 17-year-old girl before her birthday, which he did that. But it's also about drugs and alcohol and trafficking and a whole bunch of other stuff. To be very clear, Matt Gaetz is a drug addict, and that has never been something that has been controversial or disputed. He's struggled with alcohol and addiction periodically, as some people do. And he only ever practiced law for 1 year. If anything, that should be the thing that makes him really disqualified for AG, is the fact that that's the highest attorney position in the country. And Matt Gaetz practiced law for 1 year after graduating from William and Mary. And it was for a firm connected to his dad. And 1 year before he started running for office. And that's it. That's his whole experience. And it wasn't much. But I do tend to say, even though Nestor is an adult now, he's still a young adult, that it's his choice whether or not to speak out about his adolescence. And he's never indicated that he wants to do that. I've talked to some of his friends as well who say that, he's not going to say a bad word about Matt Gaetz, which could be interpreted to mean several things. But I don't think it's as nefarious as some people say. And if you really know your enemies, you can start to learn what their redeeming qualities are. For example, DeSantis has none. He has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Matt Gaetz has some. And if you're going to be fair, and as awful of a person as he is, you have to be able to recognize what that person's about. You have to learn how that person thinks and how they act. And I did that for a long time. So that's my 2 cents on the Nestor thing. There's plenty other stuff about Matt Gaetz. I mean, the bodies that are piling up, not just around him, but his dad in Northwest Florida, are absolutely insane. I wrote a huge investigative piece about this almost 2 years ago, I think. You can go to mesoscalenews.com and read it. It's one of the most viewed on my site, so it'll be right down there under most viewed. And those are the things that we should be discussing about Matt Gaetz.